Hi, and welcome back for more in this short series on stick control basics. If you looked at my first three videos, then you've considered the grip, the bounce, and the accent. In this lesson, we want to look at taking stick control to the next level and introducing what I'll just term finger control. Regardless of which grip you use, if you just rely on the natural bounce that's in the stick, it's only good for 2 or 3 bounces before it starts to fizzle out altogether. So, whilst at a beginner level we can get away with playing double strokes or triple strokes and allowing the stick to do all the work, at an intermediate level, and certainly at an advanced level, you're not going to be just leaving it all up to the stick. You're going to be helping the stick out with your fingers. Now, if we're talking about the German timpani grip, where if I lift my hand to camera you can see underneath my hand, as the stick moves in my hand, I allow my fingers to open and close naturally with that movement, opening on the way up and closing on the way down. Once I get sympathetic with the movement of that stick, instead of allowing the bounce to die, we can keep it alive with this pumping motion from the fingers. Sort of like a basketball player bouncing the ball low to the ground, just using his fingertips to control the downward push while the rebound brings the ball back to his hands. Well, here what's happening is I'm opening and closing my fingers with the movement of the stick. With the German timpani grip, it's almost, imagine you had a squash ball in the centre of your hand and these 3 fingers were just squeezing on that ball. It's an inward movement towards making a fist. It shouldn't be confused with the finger control from the French timpani, which I'll discuss in a minute. But yes, with the German timpani grip, it's not an easy finger control to just start doing, because you've got to train your fingers to work in this motion and to feel totally relaxed and comfortable with the stick. It's very important that your hand stays relaxed. It's very important that you allow the stick to move within your hand, but at the same time not in an uncontrolled way. That's where the finger control comes in. So as well as being able to perpetuate the bounce, in other words just play as many strokes as you like, you notice the strokes are all relatively even, like they're not dying out in volume as well. They're even because I'm pumping with the fingers in an even way. Okay? Just putting a little snap on the end there to make an accent. It can all be done largely with the fingers, very little involvement, if any, from the wrist at all. So this finger control is a very efficient way to move the sticks. If you can do it in that hand and you can do it in that hand, then obviously you can do it in both hands. It makes it very easy to do fast single stroke rolls and the like. So the main thing to do is to develop the technique. So one of the exercises I like to offer up is play repetitive strokes using this pumping motion and count them off in groups, like for example 2s. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. 3s. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3. And you notice even on the 2s and the 3s there, I've got those fingers in play to keep those beats even. Not so much they wouldn't play themselves, but with the finger control it adds that evenness to the whole thing. 4 beats, of course. This is more or less mimicking what you'd be doing in a 16th number, playing in 16ths on the hi-hat. Groups of 5 are fun. 6, etc, etc, etc. All the way up, if you like, to 16. And then of course switch to the other hand. So practicing this hand-to-hand thing in these various single struck groups. Of course you've got your rudiments as well, The 40 Passig rudiments have plenty of scope for finger control. The single stroke 4, yeah, that's basically 2 overlapping double strokes, but with the finger control it stays nice and even. Single stroke 7, same sort of deal. All to do with finger control. But even when you're playing your double bounces, a little bit of finger control can keep that second part of the bounce as strong as the first. It really marks the difference between a beginner and an intermediate player when it comes to rudimental control, is whether you've got this finger control in the game or not. If you're using French timpani grip, it's quite a different motion. In this attitude, if I was to demonstrate the German timpani grip turned over into this French timpani attitude, the stick would actually be moving like this, and then I would be pulling it back into the centre of my hand, because that's the German timpani action, right? Rolled on its side. That's what it looks like when it's over there. Roll it on its side. Yeah. But in French timpani, of course, we want the stick to be going in this direction. So that requires a completely different movement in the hand, okay? So here we're more or less rolling the stick around the ball of the thumb, and this is a much easier finger control to get a start up on, because it's a fairly natural motion, this little twisting motion around the ball of the thumb. When you get it going, you probably find even as a beginner you might be able to get that going pretty well straight away. But remember that this isn't the wrist player's grip. This is the wrist player's grip. The German timpani is the grip that encourages you to incorporate the wrist into the stroke. In the French timpani, it's almost exclusively fingers. Very little involvement from the wrist at all, so don't get that wrong. If you're not sure what I'm talking about, just go back and check the movie on grips. So yes, with the French timpani, a different sort of motion where we're twisting the stick around like that. And in the traditional grip, the finger control actually comes largely, for a start, from the base of the thumb here. Because you can drive the stick just with that motion there, twisting the thumb slightly around the top finger like that. Again, let the rebound push the stick up. Don't worry about that. It's like bouncing a ball. You don't have to lift it. It's going to come back to you. Just get ready to catch it and push it down again. Now you can use other motors in the traditional grip here. You can use your fingers on top as a motor itself. You can drive the stick upside down if you want. There's all sorts of tricks in the book. We're not going into that level of detail here. These lessons are squarely aimed at the beginner to get them into the idea of what stick control is all about, and why we need to practice rudiments, and why we need to practice single, double and triple bouncing, or in the case of developing finger control, multiple bouncing to whatever limit you want. I really think 16 is enough though. So yeah, a bit of finger control will add a lot of snap and a lot of control, a lot of balance, a lot of dynamics into your playing. And that's the next level. Once you've got the grip, the bounce and the accent, then you need to get the fingers involved. So if you're using German timpani like I am, remember that that's pulling up into the palm of the hand, into the center here. Yeah? And you can incorporate it with that wrist movement that I'm doing. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I might just do another little quick video on specialty strokes, and then we'll wrap this puppy up. Cheers.